I'll tackle Hitler and Stalin if you like. I don't think that's a very broad spectrum, Phil, I've got to say.
Depends which way around you go.
It doesn't get much narrow. Where am I politically? I've been a member of the Labour Party since the early 80s. I joined specifically to save the Labour Party from the Social Democrats and to support the broad left within the Labour Party. That's still pretty much my position. I think I would place myself as a supporter of the Attlee-Bevanite government in the 40s. I believe in nationalisation of the utilities, of the important areas of industry. I believe in progressive taxation, which genuinely redistributes wealth. I believe in an end to public schools, the royal family. I'd deal with the monarchy. And doing away with those institutions, I would hope to have some effect on dismantling the class system. I believe in the National Health Service, free at the point of delivery. I believe in a much more egalitarian system of welfare than we have at the moment. The system that was originally envisioned in the 1940s. That's as much as I can think of off the top of my head.
Celtic and Rangers, John?
The People's Team, Barry.
Is that it, John? Are you?
That's it.
Okay, fine. Who's piling in next? Chris, you look as though you are.
Well, I think the views of the DGS are irrelevant as long as he or she is doing their job properly and giving impartial advice to the General Secretary, the NEC, AGM and the membership. I've never made any secret of the fact that, what did Tony Blair call the Coventry Labour Party? Unreconstructible old Labour dinosaurs. That's I think what he called, yes. The fact that the Coventry Labour Party has increased its vote against the national trend ought to cause Mr Brother Brown and the rest of the government to start asking some very important questions about their policies. I certainly believe it's the job of the DGS to represent your policies to government, irrelevant which party is in power or whichever minister we've got to deal with. And I shan't lose any sleep. Now, for example, if the General Secretary tells me to go and duff up Gordon over the Trade Union Freedom Bill, I'm not going to lose any sleep over putting my size 11 Doc Martens on and giving Gordon a good kicking, because frankly he isn't delivering the promises that he made to the Labour movement. And in case there's something else I also do believe in, although we're not affiliated to the Labour Party, I do believe that the Labour Party is the political wing of the TUC, and I think that they need to be reminded that a lot more often. Just as the Tory Party is the political wing of the ruling classes. And the ruling classes don't have to remind their leaders. But as regards the future of the journalist, I believe that we should be looking to produce at least 12 issues a year. I think we should be looking for outside advertising sources. When I was at IPC, I must point out that we did actually approach the union to do a joint deal on running the journalists so that we could do probably 24 issues a year, because we did quite correctly detected that the money was there. The problem was that the NEC at the time decided to be politically pure about it and turned down the deal. I certainly would think I certainly think we should look seriously at any such deal come along. But I mean, I think we have got to look at least a dozen issues a year, because it's one of the very few things that people do remember that they get from the NUJ. They do get it every month. I mean, ideally it would be weekly, but don't think there's. I think if you could get the revenue to produce a weekly journal, I think you probably deserve a VC. But certainly we should be looking at trying to get 24 issues a year, so it's fortnightly. The big advantage of fortnightly is, of course, that you have a much better frequency, but you don't have the costs of a weekly or a daily.
Okay.
I can't answer Michelle's question, unfortunately.
No. Okay, thank you. Right, thank you, Chris. Phil, Michelle, Phil, you're looking.
Okay.
I don't care. Phil.
Well, I'll do. I'm with Chris on the journalists. I think the print issue should stay. I mean, I think it's. I do all my work online. Most of my work is for online sites, and I spend all my time on the computer. The last thing I want to do is to read a magazine, which I can happily read at the breakfast table with a computer. I think the print issue is really important. You know, one issue a month is fine, but I think it should continue. It's a very good recruiting thing that you can leave around in all sorts of places. So I would certainly, it's useful to have a PDF version that you can place online, but I would certainly keep the print issue going. On the political spectrum, well, that's a good one because I don't actually have a vote in the UK at the moment. But in the past, I've been, I was a great supporter of Tony Blair when he came in after so many years of Tory governments. I'm now, I have to say, somewhat disillusioned with the Labour Party, and I actually really like what Nick Clegg said recently. In particular, it's quite interesting to see how the Lib Dems are going. But his quote stays in my brain, which he quoted. He came in the Guardian last week, and he said something about a spineless abdication of scrutiny at the heart of our government, which I thought was very, very apt. I'm essentially a pragmatist, and I think the job of DGS is to be a pragmatist, to organise, to work with everybody, to keep things going, and not to let politics get in the way.
Thank you, Phil. Michelle.
Okay, my political spectrum. Like a couple of the other candidates, I'm a member of the Labour Party. I actually joined the Labour Party in 2000, I think, something like that. I joined because I was deeply disillusioned with the kind of new Labour administration that we had at that time. And I joined with the intention of, getting involved in a way that would change that within the Parliament of the Labour Party. Then I became pregnant and kind of got slightly sidetracked. So I haven't been as active in the Labour Party as perhaps I initially set out to be, saying that I did stand in the last local elections in London in an unwinnable seat for Labour and campaigned in the target wards for them. But I have to say, that the current party in no way kind of reflects what I would say my views would be kind of much more broadly kind of socialist in a more traditional way. And from Liverpool, you kind of grow up kind of imbued with that kind of tradition, I think. I think it's absolutely right that as a union we're not affiliated to any political party. I think that's the right decision. I think, as a national officer and as the NEC, we work very closely with MPs through our parliamentary group of all colours, and I think that's where our strength lies. I think I too would be kind of more pragmatic. I certainly don't come with any kind of ideological kind of baggage or dogma that I'm kind of, I have to kind of go along with. I take decisions coolly and clearly on the basis of what the merits are of them. I don't take them because of any political persuasion, if you like. Somebody asked whether how our political inclinations would affect our conduct as DGS. I don't think that would affect me in any way whatsoever, apart from the ways in which I'm a member of a trade union anyway. Fundamentally social justice and fairness and standing up for what we believe to be right. Simon is quite right to say that I was the candidate that the left, so-called left of the NUJ supported. You would have to ask the members who were present at those meetings why they chose me as their candidate. I was actually back in London at the Express's picket line, I think, from one of the meetings that happened at ADN. My involvement with it, well, frankly, the NUJ left hasn't met as a unit for a long time. I mean, I think it exists in kind of periodic emails. So, and I don't think that's something that the leadership of the NUJ should have a view on one way or another. It's up to people to organise themselves within the union if they want to act collectively as on one side or other of the political spectrum. I think one of my strengths I would say is that I'm a chapel rep in a national newspaper chapel that is a broad church in every single way. So politically, socially, in terms of the terms and conditions that individual members are on within that chapel. And one of the big challenges and one of the things that I think we've been successful at from bringing it up from a rump with no recognition to the point that we're at now is that we as reps have managed to engage people from across lots of different divides and bring them together and make them see that the NUJ works for them. And I think that's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to focus on within the union as a whole and do that, flesh that out in many other ways within the broader union. As for the journalist, I'd like to start by saying that the issue of the journalist, a couple of issues back, when we had the issue of the journalist in a PDF format, I mean, that's an example of the way we cannot have, you know, the journalist as a presence in the future. I mean, it was done, you know, for financial reasons at the end of the financial year to save a lot of money. I think, again, I said earlier that we're a communications union, we need to show it and demonstrate it sometimes. What we need to have is a very, you know, we've now got a really strong communications team, we've got a website that's so much better than anything we've had in the past. We need to build on it and improve it, but it's there. So I think if we're having any kind of presence of the journalist on the web, it has to be integrated, so it has to be something that's there all the time. My idea would be that on the web, the journalist was the brand and it was updated daily with news and things that are happening, reacting to things that are happening across the membership and not reporting on something that happened a couple of months back. Equally saying that, I think there's a strong role to play for the journalist as a, you know, in its current in a magazine format. I don't think it needs to be 12 issues a year, but I do think whether it's seasonally 4 or 6 times a year, it's something that's very important for a lot of members out there for which it's the only contact really that they have with the union. And there's a lot of fondness that exists for the journalists out there, but I think there's lots of ways in which it can be improved, and I don't think we should kind of stick rigidly with what we have at the moment. I mean, and the whole future of the journalist is something that's under discussion and review, and it's something that I would hope that as many members as possible take part in and express their views on.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Then we'll take to read this out. Right, so we'll take a couple of questions, and then I've got a written question here that's come into the Guardian, which I'm going to put to candidates on behalf of the person who wrote it. So who have we got? Yes, then.
No, I was just going to say it didn't come from the Guardian, it's through the NUJ.
Oh right, okay. Came to me from somebody out the Guardian. Okay, yes. 1, 2. Yes, yes please.
Almost a quick question about technology.
Can we have your name?
Simon Hunt. Technology and the internet are revolutionising the way in which journalism is disseminated to the public. They're also making a really big change in lots of journalists' jobs and working lives, some of which I guess are welcome, some of which are less welcome by some. What role do the candidates think the NUJ has in this revolution that's taking place at the moment?
Okay, thank you very much.
Kieran Connolly, Book Branch, personal capacity. According to media reports, Unite, one of the larger British trade unions, and the United States Steelworkers Union are planning to merge later this year. What are the views of the candidates in relation to the NUJ, either having a more formal relationship with, say, the newspaper guild in the States, TNG, or IG Medien in Germany, or wherever you might wish to operate?
Okay, thank you very much. Do you mind if I add a third one that's come in before? This is sent in by Ian Murphy. He says it's a little long, but I'll read it through. I've been a freelance journalist in the IT sector for far too long. In that time, anything done by the NUJ freelance branch that I set myself for, I've just realised that the ends of the lines are missing on the copy.
You were short question.
You have.
Would you agree?
You have 2 questions to answer. And while you answer them, I'll attempt to make some sense of this email in front of me. Anybody wish to start? You're starting now, Michelle? Good.
Yes, Simon's question on technology. I think the role of the NUJ has got an absolutely kind of fundamental role to play in the revolution that's taking place in workplaces at the moment. I mean, I think that the introduction of new technology and what it's led to, the kind of convergence and integration of traditional kind of news desks and news operations with online parts of organisations is something that's it's changing on a daily basis the way that we do our work as journalists, and it's really up to the